Chris, you okay?
Yeah.
You okay?
No.
Okay. Barber immediately comes in with the $2 contribution to start the show off. He says, why? With a bunch of Y's in all caps. Put us through this pain. Let's be clear. Chris and I aren't doing that. Your favorite football team is doing that. Good afternoon, everybody. A good Monday afternoon to you all. The day before Halloween. Hallows Eve's Eve, if you will. My name is Corey Crisan. His name is Chris Halicke. We are here for the pain. We are here for the trials. We are here for the tribulations. As Eric says, he's checking in for therapy. If we could be your therapy for half an hour a day, as regards to your favorite football team, we will be here for that. Hi, Chris.
Hi. Yeah, so trying to come up with a title for today's episode. The first, and I ran this by Corey, the first name I came up with was not appropriate.
Mm-mm.
And
the last part of it ends with show. Let's just say that.
No, it was. Ever seen the movie The Perfect Storm with George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg? Well, there's another word that I put in between perfect and storm. No, this one, it's just because I don't even know where to start. I don't. I don't. It's my Chalk Talk piece that's coming out later today. It's actually almost done, but I've got some things I got to get done, and then it'll get done. It'll be out later this afternoon or early in the evening. We'll focus on issues that are not Matt Canada related because, believe it or not, his Matt Canada's play calling yesterday wasn't really that bad. It's kind of par for the course. You had some head scratchers in there. You had some, what the heck are you doing? You had some predictability there. That's just, again, par for the course with Matt Canada. They left 18 points out there that they didn't score. And that wasn't Matt Canada's fault. It just...
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Let's get the easy part out of the way first, okay? Jacksonville's a really good football team.
Yeah, they are. We knew that going in. Yeah.
They're really good. Like, one of the three best in the AFC good. That's how good they are. Josh Allen, not the quarterback, the DN, Josh Allen, made Kenny Pickett / Mitch Trubisky's lives hell throughout the game. Jacksonville, that, as George Pickens said, hope defense, put the clamps on him, didn't they? One catch for 22 yards. Put the clamps on him.
Kind of.
Well, one catch for 22 yards is one catch for 22 yards. To a George Pickens that has really emerged this year and has looked like the best player on the Steelers offense. We can talk until the cows come home about referee calls and about apparent neutral zone infractions from the offense on field goals and all of that. We can talk about all of that. But you know what that is to me, Chris? Low-hanging fruit to the tree of the real issues, right? And it's a lot of the real issues that we have talked about ad nauseum throughout the first, 8 weeks of the season now.
Yeah.
It's a bad offense. It's a defense that is bend but don't break. It is a team that has to stay in games late in order to actually give themselves chances to win. For me, Chris, the thing that really took the wind out of the sails was the 9th defensive snap of the game, 8th defensive snap of the game, when Minka goes down with the hamstring injury, out for the game. Mike Tomlin says today, out this week against the Titans. Losing Minka, and I said it on DK's live file. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it here. That's the straw that stirs the drink to this defense. TJ is TJ, and he is historic, and he's a Hall of Famer. But the things that Minka Fitzpatrick does for this defense, and this is where I kind of wanted to start today, was at the start, so to speak. Losing Minka right off the bat like that just changes everything. This is a player that plays at safety, at corner, the slot, in the box, linebacker. He's everything for this defense. When you take that piece away, Jacksonville opens up the lid. 4 out of the 5 Jaguars pass catchers caught one pass for at least 27 yards. And then, of course, ETN had the 53-yarder literally over the top of the defense. Bad communication, bad coverage. for a touchdown, and that put him up 17-3, and that was insurmountable. So that's what started it for me. And obviously, Kenny Pickett being injured is another thing, and it's a really big another thing. There's so much to dissect from this game from a negative standpoint. And now the Steelers have to go in a short week, Thursday night football against the Titans team that just saw a rookie quarterback throw for 4 touchdowns, and 3 of them to, guess who? DeAndre Hopkins, who, by the way, in case you missed it, is still pretty freaking good at football.
All right. So you defaulted to the defensive side of the ball. I kind of default to the offensive side of the ball. Always been more of an offensive mind. When I play hockey, I play forward. Typically, I've always been more of an offensive minded person. So I go to the offense.
Sure.
This defense took the ball away 3 times, and they held the Jaguars to no touchdowns in 3 trips to the red zone, and this team still lost. That is on the offense, 100%.
No question.
And
no question.
C. Hill brings this up. Is it too early to say maybe Kenny isn't the guy? Yesterday, and I've had some time to really chew on this because I don't want to be reactionary. I definitely am not emotional talking about it, but I'm beginning to really wonder the same thing. I just am. Because I kind of had a feeling yesterday, like before the game, I was like, you know what? We haven't had that Kenny game yet so far since he's taken over. He's had really good moments. He's had really good fourth quarters. He's had fourth quarter drives. He's had comeback drives in the fourth quarter, game-winning drives. That's great. He just hasn't had that game where he's that dude and he goes off. Hasn't happened yet. I think we've seen him play enough games where we may have needed to see that by now. Haven't seen it. And the first big play that was missed, yes, Deonte's got to catch that ball. That's 95% on Deonte. Throw was a little high. They hit Deonte in both the hands. You gotta bring that down. That's 7 points right there. The underthrown corner route to Pickens, that's unacceptable. That's another touchdown right there. I trust Pickens to catch that in stride and beat the one safety that's back there. 100%. The misfire to Deonte in the end zone. No excuse for even a serviceable backup to miss that throw. Just no excuse.
Deonte slipped, but that was more about the throw.
Yeah, that play is 100. I say 90 on the Deonte drop. I say 95% on Deonte only because the throw was a little high. It's still very, very much mostly Deonte's fault. Almost all Deonte's fault. It hit him in both hands. I played receiver in high school. I always default to, if it hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. It hit him in the hands. He's got to catch it. I don't care about the rain. I don't care about the turf. I don't care about the throw. You got to catch the ball. That throw in the end zone is 100% on Pickett. 100%. You read man coverage on Deonte's side. You've only got 2 guys over there plus the safety in the middle of the field. Look off to the right. You got the rub coming from Connor Hayward. He's gonna get open. You've got to see that. If you can't see that and then don't make the throw, you don't belong in the NFL. Period. It's just that it's basic quarterbacking. It's not even advanced quarterbacking at that point.
Robert, thank you for the plug. He says the podcast is good.
Robert.
Like and share this podcast. Please like, please share, please leave a rating on all podcast platforms. This on Mondays on the loss. Yes, it can be some time to air the grievances, just like we're doing right now with you all. I'll say this, Chris, about the Kenny Pickett discourse.
No.
It's no denying that he is incredibly handicapped by Matt Canada.
Yes.
And Ryan says it here in the comments. I think we need to see Kenny under a different OC.
I agree. And that's why I'm not giving up on Kenny yet, because I still believe in the 3-year rule. And next year he should have a new OC.
Severely handicapped by his offensive coordinator. And like you said, I don't think Canada called a horrible game, I don't think
He's had worse this year, for sure.
I don't think it was a terribly called game.
No,
I think there were a lot of factors playing against the Steelers yesterday. But let's be blunt, okay? And this is what we're going to do on this show. We'll always tell it like it is, as best as we can. It's become pattern behavior that the Steelers can't produce in the first quarter, the second quarter, the first half. It has become pattern behavior since Matt Canada took over as the offensive coordinator. It is more apparent because it is, 55 straight games now where the Steelers have not put up 400 yards of offense. A large chunk of that is because they have started off so poorly. When Jacksonville is able to put up 9 points at halftime, yeah, you credit the Steelers' defense, but that is sustainable from a defensive standpoint. It's a bend but don't break. I can't believe I'm saying this again, but I feel like I'm watching Pitt and the Steelers, the same teams. Like, bend but don't break defense combated by a really bad offense. That is what the Steelers are.
Yeah.
And look, DK's column after the game, talking about Kenny and Najee, and are these guys as good as we think they are? There might be some merit to that. In fact, I think there is. However, the asterisk on that point, Chris, and I agree with 98% of what you said.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2% that I don't agree with is because Kenny Pickett is severely handicapped by his offensive coordinator. And I'm not saying that the coordinator is doing let me rephrase that. I'm not saying the coordinator is taking the ability to hot route and audible and adjust and make plays in moment from Kenny, because that's not what Matt Canada is doing. It's flaw by design. It is a poorly designed offense. There was a point, I watched the game at my dad's house yesterday. There was a point where I looked at my dad and I said, oh, they brought Broderick Jones as a bonus tackle. Guess what's about to happen? Sure enough, here comes the Najee run right into Broderick's behind that went a yard if it was lucky.
Yeah.
So look, not having an imaginative, creative, sustainable, functioning offense is severely handicapping the quarterback. There's no doubt about that. The problem is only compounding because the requisite talent around that quarterback also aren't playing well, meaning the offensive line, Deonte Johnson dropping passes, George Pickens not getting open, and getting the clamps put on him by an average at best Jacksonville defense.
See, and okay, just because Steelers Girl kind of brings up a similar point. She says Kenny's the second-year quarterback. How do you expect him to save a disgusting offense with the crap O-line, zero run game, and crap OC? Listen, there's no denying, and me saying or showing any kind of doubt in Kenny is not all of a sudden becoming some sort of martyr for Matt Canada. It's not. I still believe he's not qualified to be the offensive coordinator. He's not a good coordinator. He needs to go. Doing it in the middle of the year is not going to do anything because the offense isn't going to change. The playbook's not going to be overhauled until there is a new offensive coordinator, and that won't happen in the middle of the season. So, but bad offensive coordinators don't go over in a game.
It's true.
Great offensive coordinators don't bat 1,000. Great offensive coordinators have misfires, and bad offensive coordinators have good moments. When the players are there, you got to make them. The offensive coordinator can't throw the ball for you, Kenny. That's just the way it is. When the throws are there, you got to make them. The throw was there to Pickens on the corner route. You got to make the throw. You didn't make the throw. He had 4 yards of separation on that safety. Perfectly ran corner route. The safety had outside leverage on him before the snap. He ran his route enough to get the safety to turn inside and then cut for the corner, had 4 yards of separation, and he still was able to make a play on the ball because it was so underthrown. Deonte wide open in the end zone, can't even get it within any kind of ability where Deonte can get a hand on it, a finger on it. That's unacceptable. Matt Canada can't throw the ball for you. You got to be able to make the throws when they're there.
To what Steelers Freak says here, I don't want to absolve Kenny Pickett. I really don't want to absolve Kenny Pickett, and he shouldn't be. He is missing basic reads. He is missing basic throws. My point is that the severe handicapping, as done by the coordinator, is not helping his growth in the slightest.
Overall, in the big picture of things, yes, he needs a new offensive coordinator. I think, but even by now, even with a bad offensive coordinator, we still should have seen more. We should see when the layups are there, he's able to make them work. He's not even doing that. I mean, that play to Deonte is the one that really hurts. The one where it's just like, because we saw it in week 1. We saw it happen in week 1. Deonte beats his guy on a slant. It's a slam dunk touchdown. You don't have to put it on you don't have to put it on a dot. You don't have to throw a dime. You don't have to throw over the top and then underneath a safety. It's right there. Just get him the ball.
Yeah.
It's not a hard throw. These aren't complicated throws that I'm asking Kenny Pickett to make.
I want to go back real quick. And I mean, we could talk until the cows come home about this football game and all the bad stuff the Steelers
I think that's
did.
why I put the title just where to start, because there's so many different things.
Okay, so since we're on the topic of Kenny Pickett, right? Let's consider, I saw somebody in the comments throw, talking about, here it is, Steelers Freak says, Pickett was a way to put butts in seats because of the Pitt connection. He's missing things that aren't Canada's or the other team's fault. He isn't the one. All right, let's consider variables here. Ben Roethlisberger retires at the end of the 2021 season. This is a NFL where you have to live off of your quarterback. You just do. Like, the Steelers defense can have TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick and all these good players and Alex Highsmith. But at the end of the day, the offense still has to produce. And yes, the coordinator does handicap a lot of that. Here's the quarterbacks that came out of this 2022 class. Kenny Pickett, again, was the first of the litter taken, pick 20 in the first round. Then came Desmond Ridder, Atlanta Falcons, round 3, pick 74. And I didn't watch the Falcons game, the Titans game yesterday, but I've heard enough to see that Taylor Heineke was the better quarterback of the two between himself and Desmond Ridder yesterday after Ridder went down. Malik Willis, drafted by the Titans, a.k.a. the Titans went back into the quarterback well this year for Will Levis, the guy the Steelers are about to see. Matt Corral, Carolina, guess what? 3rd round pick, no thanks. Carolina drafts a quarterback 1st overall. Bailey Zappi, New England Patriots, 4th round. Guess what? Mac Jones. Sam Howell, Washington Commanders. Okay, he's starting now. But he has a bad offensive line. He can't throw the ball. He doesn't have time to throw the ball, rather. He's playing okay, I guess. But what do? Chris Oladokun. There's a name for you. Round 7, pick 241 last year. Gone, out of the league. Skylar Thompson, Miami Dolphins. Who? Brock Purdy, of course, Mr. Irrelevant. And now he's starting to kind of regress and decline, at least as of late. So, if we want to go back into the time machine and look at that quarterback class and consider the timing that the Steelers had with respect to the quarterback, Kenny Pickett probably still is the best of that litter. Maybe the argument can be made as a whole with Brock Purdy, but then you could bring in system quarterback and all those other cliches.
Yeah, because Brock Purdy is definitely playing in a more quarterback-friendly system.
So consider the timing. Yeah, that whole draft class stinks, just as it's mentioned here in our comments.
Yeah.
That whole quarterback class is not that good.
It's not.
This is what the Steelers had to pick from.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you want to frame it this way, they got the right guy out of that package, I think. However, at what point do you cut the cord? Look what Carolina just did. Look what Tennessee just did. They went after 1 year and said, nope, those are not our guys. Next. And Tennessee found a guy that just threw for 4 touchdowns. And then Carolina went back and got the number 1 pick in the draft. Mike J., thank you for your patronage. Become a YouTube member. We greatly appreciate that. That's what this boils back down to, Chris, is the timing of the situation. Yeah. And look, the talking heads out there sometimes are right. Sometimes you're right in saying, and I'm not going to try to disgrace the name and his Hall of Fame career, Ben Roethlisberger not retiring sooner. Does it cost the Steelers a better quarterback, a better shot at a better quarterback? What does it cost the Steelers with him retiring when he did? And I'm not going to go down that path.
No,
but this was the litter the Steelers had to choose from, unless they wanted to go back and get a retread veteran. spoiler, they kind of did that with Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah,
anyway, but the point is,
yeah. I mean, if the Steelers were going to go the veteran route in 2022, they might as well have just let Ben stay another year. That's might as well what they probably would have been best doing, honestly. That other than signing Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, but it was very clear that the Steelers were ready to move on and kind of end the Ben Roethlisberger era. And it is what it is. I mean, either way, Ben's career was coming to an end, whether it would have been in 21 or 22. By this time, most likely Ben's career is over.
Or 20. I was talking about sooner. 20
I know,
19.
But what I'm saying is like, okay, he played in 21. If the Steelers were going to be committed to the veteran route in 22, because that draft class was so bad, you might as well. I mean, who would you rather have quarterbacking? Ben Roethlisberger at 41 or however old he is now, or would have been in last year, or Mitch Trubisky? Sorry, I'm still going with Ben on that one. Even a Ben way out of his prime, I'm still going with that. Just because, Ben can't move and Trubisky can move, but man, Ben at least still understands that you can't stare down Allen Robinson going down the middle of the field and throw it into triple coverage.
No, that's not okay anywhere. Williams says they knew they needed a quarterback long before he retired. This is true.
Well, I mean,
this is true.
And that, I mean, when Ben, I mean, and this is a whole nother topic of discussion, but when Ben's arm went bye-bye, that was the end. That was the end for Ben. I mean, he came back and he had a really good year in 2020, but that was kind of a weird year. It was the COVID year that they went 11-0. Nobody ever thought that they were good enough to be 11-0, and they were proven that whenever they lost and seemingly I know they won another game and everything like that, but they were not an 11-0 team, and then they go to the playoffs and get absolutely embarrassed by the Browns. I mean, it's when the arm went bye-bye, that's when Ben's career was really over.
Eric says, I think the Steelers might have missed with Najee. Etienne has shown more. Look, at the time, there was a 1-1A discussion between Najee Harris and Travis Etienne out of the draft. And Najee was incredible at Alabama. I mean, just roll the tape. He was incredible. He looked like a man amongst boys in the SEC, which not a lot of players get to do at Alabama.
Yeah.
And I think it's no secret that Etienne also benefits from having his college quarterback at his hip at all times. Like, that connection between Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne is really special. Those guys know how to play good football. And they have a really good head coach, by the way, to usher those two along as an offensive mind when it comes to Doug Peterson. I think there's no questioning that Doug Peterson's influence on Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. I mean, think about it. I don't want to go too far into the Urban Meyer discourse, but when Urban Meyer was coaching Trevor Lawrence was a pumpkin. Happy Halloween. Now with Doug Peterson coaching him, he looks like a top 5-7 quarterback in the NFL? 10? Where is he? I mean, he's in the top 10, I think, definitively. My point is that Jacksonville, this is the difference between coaching sometimes. Trevor Lawrence, first-round pick. Travis Etienne, first-round pick. The Jaguars spend smartly in free agency. Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and this is the result. I mean, look, their offense wasn't amazing, but they still put up, 377 yards of offense and about 5.8 yards per play. So, yeah, this is kind of the antithesis of what the Steelers are doing right now. Jacksonville's hitting on their things. They're hitting on the draft picks. They're hitting on the offensive coaches. They're hitting on the requisite free agents. The Steelers are an example of what happens when you really don't. And, it starts with Kenny, it starts with Matt Canada, and then it boils down to the rest of the offense.
Yeah. It's and again, when we talk about, Kenny, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? And whenever the Steelers make the decision to move on from Ben and, they go into the 22 draft and they're like, okay, if Kenny Pickett's there, we're going to get him, and that's most likely the best quarterback of the bunch, and you can't use hindsight in that. Oh, they should have taken Brock Purdy. No, you can't do that.
You can't say that.
You can't say that because you could say the same thing about every single team passed on Jaylen Warren 7 times. Some of them more than that. And Jaylen Warren looks like a second or third round pick, or a back that was based off of the way he plays. Might have been drafted in the second or third round. Maybe even fourth round. If it's kind of but he was completely undrafted. I mean, it's just you can't use hindsight for those situations. Kenny Pickett was the best quarterback of the bunch. They got him at number 20. I mean, what the Steelers need to do is they need to put him in the best situation to succeed. And under Matt Canada, it's not going to happen. We know that. We've been down that road. The problem that I have now, and I guess where my first real doubt about Kenny being the guy is that even when the plays are there, because yes, like as I said, to kind of repeat, yes, he's handicapped. Yes, the offense sucks. Yes, the play calling and the play sequencing is bad, and he can only get so high because of all those things. But on a play-by-play basis, there are plays that are there, and he's not making them consistently enough. What we should be seeing is Kenny make that throw to Deonte in the end zone. We should see him make that throw on the corner route to George Pickens. If he does, are people harping as much on Matt Canada? If they those 18 points they left on the field yesterday, if they put those 18 points up and they win that football game, are we all as hard on Matt Canada as people want to be today? No, they're not. Period. Because the main thing that cures anything is winning. Winning cures everything. Even
when you hold the opposition to 20 points, theoretically you should win the football game. Theoretically, on average, I would say you should win that football game.
Yes.
Williams says, I don't see the chemistry in the offense.
No,
I like this point.
Yeah, it's everything. They're so out of sync. It's unreal.
I like this point because just from a feel standpoint, I watch the defense run onto the field and I expect something. I expect good results. I'm not saying turnover every time. I'm saying I expect good results, positive results. When the offense takes the field, I go, when's the punt coming? And then I go, how are they going to screw this up now? That's the feel I get from watching the Steelers offense.
Mm-hmm.
It is disjointed. It is dysfunctional. It is disconnected. It is put all of the dis prefixes in front of every word you want to use. That is how this offense is. We talked about this in week 2, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this in week 2. We said we're going to be saying the same thing in week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that we said in week 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because this offense is not going to change. And now the quarterback is banged up. The tight end is still out for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The running game still isn't going. The number one receiver is dropping passes again. Nothing is functioning. Nothing is functioning as it needs to on a consistent basis to produce results. This defense can only do so much before the dam breaks, before so many jackhammers get taken into the dam and the thing bursts open. And that's what happens when you lose football games because the offense can't hold it. They just can't do it on a sustainable, consistent basis.
Yeah, the one thing with Deonte, yes, he's got to catch those 2 passes on that first series. It was a terrible series for him. But, and I mean, I think everybody can remember the game in Buffalo a few years ago. Well, that was drop, another series, another drop, another series, another drop. He just was in his own head, couldn't get out of it. That's where at least we've seen the growth with Deonte. Terrible series, drops 2 passes. One of them should have been a touchdown. Bounces back, doesn't drop another pass the rest of the game, catches 8 passes for 85 yards. Should have also had a touchdown because of a misfire by Kenny. That's at least where you're seeing growth from Deonte. Now, Kenny, we need to see the growth. We're not seeing the growth. The plays that are there, you got to make them. And I think that's Biad said it earlier. The comment's already so far up that I couldn't find it. He's got to do it outside of the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah.
I
said this last week.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. And it's a great thing. And I'll continue to say it. It's a great thing that of all of the traits that Kenny had coming in, having that clutch gene is a great trait to have for a young quarterback, because a lot of the other stuff can be learned over time. You can't learn how to be clutch. To have that is a great, great thing. Everything else has to come in line with it so that you can then turn the overall package into something really, really good. The problem is that the plays that are there, he's not making consistently enough. That's the thing that I'm beginning to get frustrated and beginning to have doubts when it comes to Kenny. Now, I'm not giving up on Kenny. I still believe in the 3-year rule. especially if that they get the right offensive coordinator next year and he plays in a system that's much more quarterback friendly, that makes those layup plays happen a lot more often. Great. Then he's going to be in a better situation. And if you still can't succeed in that, it's completely on him at that point. You can't put it on another offensive coordinator.
All right, some notes before we wrap up. Number one, Mike Tomlin said if Kenny Pickett can't play Thursday, then it will be Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
He did say that today, which it is what it is at this point. You're not going to get much of a difference between Mitch and Mason. I mean, you're just not. Number two, Mika is definitely out, so that's that. I have a story on DKPittsburghSports.com. You can read it right now. Number three, Cam Hayward, Anthony McFarland, door might be open for them Thursday. They're going to check. So what's going to happen this week is the Steelers are going to practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're going to practice tomorrow. We have coordinators tomorrow, so coordinator Tuesday instead of coordinator Wednesday. And then they're going to practice. They're going to have a functional practice on Wednesday, as Mike Tomlin said.
Yeah.
AKA a walkthrough.
That won't be open to the media, though.
No, and they will see if Kenny Pickett can go Thursday. And the determination on Kenny Pickett will be made Thursday. And they're going to take as much time as they can with this to see if Kenny Pickett is able to go.
Yeah.
So we have a long road on this short road to Thursday night football. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Chris?
Of all the harping that I did on Kenny today, and there will be more in the Chalk Talk piece coming out later today, where I kind of look at it more from an X's and O's perspective, but still, yeah. I mean, B-Phil says, Kenny should not play. I'm assuming that this is because of the injury. And if there is a rib issue there, it's a short week. I mean, unless you are absolutely certain that it's not something that can be re-injured, I would actually kind of agree with that. Protect him in the long run. Don't force him out there. I trust Mitch Trubisky with a week to prepare, even if it's a couple of days to prepare, than coming in the middle of a game. Because 2 of the last 3 times that Mitch Trubisky has come in the middle of a game, he's been way too aggressive. Sam Bradford.
Raul, you're really going deep into the archives.
Yeah, no. So
is Josh Johnson available? Come on, guys.
Oh, jeez. The last 2 of the last 3 times Mitch Trubisky's come in, he's been way too aggressive. He's been trying to make too much happen. The game in Carolina last year, where he had the time to prepare, he knew he was going to be the guy throughout the week in practice. He played a much cleaner game. I trust Mitch more whenever he knows going in, okay, I'm starting. It's my game. Like I'm prepared. Now for
Josh,
Kenny,
he's not going to be much better. Mason's not going to be much better than Mitch.
No,
he's not. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Chris.
No, you're good. When it comes to Kenny, man, like I am still a firm believer that they got to ride with him. They got to ride with him. He's got to play. No, I'm not saying for Thursday, if he can't go, he can't go. That's a different situation. I'm talking about for the rest of the season. When he's healthy, he's got to play. Yes, the Steelers need to try to win football games. They need to try to get back into the playoffs. But they got to figure out if Kenny's the guy or not. That is paramount, because in today's NFL, quarterback is the game changer, one way or the other. Either it elevates you or it drags you down, regardless of what else or whatever else you have on the roster. If it was the case back in the 90s or 80s and 90s, in between Bradshaw and Ben, when we were going through the Bubby Bristers and the Mark Malones and the Neil O'Donnells and the Mike Tomczaks and the Cordell Stewart to the Kent Graham, back to Cordell Stewart, to Tommy Maddox and all those guys, if it mattered then, when it was way more of a balanced, or I'd even say running league, it matters even more now when it's a passing league. You have to have a quarterback. You have to figure out if Kenny's the guy. 3-year rule with Kenny. That's what I'm sticking with.
Harvin deserves hazard pay, says Bob. Goodness. Not much time to lick the wounds here.
No.
If you're the Steelers. Mm-mm. And sometimes the concept of time can really help. I'm not saying being on a short week with an injured quarterback and your star safety being injured is a good thing. But from a mental standpoint, I think this team needs to find a way to get over yesterday quickly and find a way to regroup ahead of a Titans team that looked pretty good. I know the Falcons aren't exactly, the Miami Dolphins over here. But, Will Levis throwing 4 touchdowns in his first start, that's something. That counts for something.
It's more than what Kenny's done.
This is true.
So,
again, I will repeat, coordinators tomorrow. So we'll hear from Matt Canada and Tara Loston tomorrow. The Steelers will shut everything down to media on Wednesday, closed-door practice, and then game time's Thursday. So we'll have you covered throughout the week. Thank you all for tuning in, for joining us, for listening, for your therapy, for commenting, whatever it needed to be today. We got through it. Wasn't much of a structured show. It was more or less just, us giving thoughts, which was fine. Until then, Chris and I will be back tomorrow, 3 p.m. As always, DK and Ramon coming up in about 25 minutes.
I got to reply to Mark here. Easy on Cordell, 3rd round pick, won a lot of games. Of that entire bunch that I read, Cordell was the best one. Okay. I will say that. I have no issues with Cordell. The only thing I would say was just didn't win the big game. But
you digress.
Cordell was good.
We're on to
Tuesday. He was good enough to win a Super Bowl. I'll put it that way. He was good enough to do that, and he would have succeeded in this era of the NFL. He played in the wrong era.
We're on to Tuesday. You could have kept going on that, and I
could have. Cordell, man, he was good. Like I liked Cordell. I really did.
We're on to Tuesday. Peace out, everybody.